Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the co-feature at Los Alamitos on Saturday is the $75,000 Beverly J. Lewis Stakes for 3-year-old filly sprinters. You can bet the nice Los Alamitos Saturday card with a DRF Bets account. Sign up for a new one, get a 300% deposit match. Head on over to bets.drf.com for all the info. Here's the field for the Beverly J. Lewis Stakes and your two morning line favorites, the 5 Gas Station Sushi, the number 1 Rhea. They both have not been seen since Kentucky Oaks Day, with Rhea actually starting in the Oaks, and Rhea didn't break very well, and when that happened, it cost her all chance because she was a speed when she had success in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to look at the Kentucky Oaks and take anything out of that. Just draw a line through it entirely. To be honest with you, I like this filly. I liked her when she was over in Dubai, and I'm sure you're going to get all those yahoos out there on Twitter that are rolling their eyes saying, well, it's a Dubai horse, she can't be any good. I don't believe that for a second. I think she has some ability. Okay, she got buried by Mendelssohn over a track that played to his advantage in the UAE Derby, but I thought she was very impressive in the UAE Oaks. To be honest with you, though, I can't help but look at this and say 6 furlongs at Los Al. Is this nothing more than a means to an end to get her out to something longer?
I think that's a good point. She's never been shorter than 7 furlongs in her career. It's almost like this is a reset for Bob Baffert, but she is by Tiz Wonderful, who can get some fast horses. How do you think Joe Talamo is going to ride this filly?
You know, I think there's a decent amount of speed in here. I don't think it's going to be a blistering pace, but I think there's going to be an honest one. I still think you want to try to get her out of there in good order, and perhaps, you know, we've talked about it. Los Alamitos, it seems like every time at that racetrack, you want to be outside as opposed to inside. We see even on the straightaways, you've got horses that are 4 or 5 paths off the rail. I wonder if it's a matter of everyone else has enough early speed where Joe can just extricate her from there, get her out into the clear, and try to make one run.
Gas Station Sushi ran on the Kentucky Oaks undercard in the Grade 2 8 Bells Stakes, and I think all things considered, she ran really well. Corey Nakatani must have had her 4 wide on the backstretch all the way through the turn and into the stretch, and just couldn't make up any ground on Mia Mischief and Talk Vuv to Me, the latter coming back to run second in the Acorn with a 95 buyer, and then winning the Indiana Oaks with a 93 buyer. She's kept some good company. She's won well fresh in the past, and I think she can be a little bit closer to the pace if need be.
Yeah, and you know what? I think with an honest pace signed on in here, it's going to work to her advantage, being able to sit 2 to 3 lengths off of it. You brought it up. She faced 2 horses in here that would be barred from the wagering, whether it is Mia Mischief or Talk Vuv to Me. I just think in many ways, if she's ready to go off the bench, and you made mention she's fired fresh in the past, I think she's just way the horse to beat in here.
If you don't want to play the 2 layoff horses, neither actually, that have started at Los Alamitos in their careers, how about Steph being Steph, the number 7, who's in form, who's already won over this course? I thought she ran just fine in that allowance race off a pretty long layoff at Del Mar last time out. She tripped out pretty well, sitting 3rd behind 2 speeds. She made her bid at the top of the stretch, and she couldn't get by Moonshine Memories, a classy horse that came back to run 3rd in the Prioress with a 90 buyer speed figure. She draws a really nice outside post position here. She might be a little bit of a value play.
Yeah, I agree. You know, this might be one of those instances where she's going to be the 3rd choice in here, and she has every right to be just as good, if not better, than any of the other girls in here. That outside post for Stuart Elliott, I think it's just an instance where you break, let everybody else do what they want to do. If you just hold your path out there, you're going to be probably in the catbird seat going into the far turn. I think in many ways she is one of the horses to beat. I picked her 3rd just from a talent standpoint. I don't know if she is quite as good as the top 2, but she may have a little bit more recency, and she might have that ability at Los Alamitos, which is an unknown for the other 2.
She's trained by Brian Coroner, as is the number 6, Spiced Perfection, coming off a win at Del Mar against open non-winners of 1 competition. This is a real hard hitter. She's started 11 times. She's hit the board 9 of those 11 with 4 wins, a multiple stakes winner against Calbreds. The question is she this good? That 86 buyer from the last race gets her close.
Yeah, the difficult thing is to decide, do you believe the 86 or even the 85 that she ran 4 starts back? And I'm inclined to believe them. The problem is she occasionally throws in some significantly slower races. So you need to make the call as the handicapper. Do you think that she's going to run something in the mid-80? Because if she is, she's very, very interesting in here, what should be a square number. If she doesn't, and she runs something closer to the run 2 starts back or even 3 starts back, and I know 3 starts back was a route, she's not fast enough to win.
Timeform US has a bunched up field of horses in its pace projector. We take a look at it right now. I think the 4 Best of Me is going to try to make take the front, ridden by the really aggressive Martine Pedroza. This horse last time out got caught up in a pace skirmish. It seemed a lot of horses wanted to battle it out for the lead in that Grade 2 Great Lady M Stakes, and she was simply no match for Marley's Freedom, who one has to consider now to be one of the best filly and mare sprinters in the country after winning the Ballerina, her 4th consecutive victory, with a 100 Beyer speed figure. If Best of Me somehow shakes loose from these other two horses, she's interesting for Peter Miller at a price.
Yeah, and Peter Miller coming in here on the heels of that meat title down there at Del Mar. I mean, Best of Me, I've never been a huge fan of hers, but I think you have to acknowledge that there's a scenario where she could be controlling speed in this spot. And like you say, she took on Elders last time, and some salty ones at that. Not just Marley's Freedom, but you see Sky Diamonds and also Phantom Proton. They're nothing to sneeze at. So perhaps Best of Me, she gets a little bit of class relief, and she could be controlling speed.
I wonder if Broome, the 3, has the speed to keep up with the 4 in the early portion of this race. Sure, she showed big speed 3 starts back at Del Mar, but that was for a $14,000 claiming tag. They ran her in the Grade 3 Torrey Pines. She actually outran her odds when finishing 4th at 54-1. Cutting back in distance, it'll be interesting to see if that dulls her speed a little bit. Plus, one must wonder if she has the class to run with these horses.
Yeah, I don't think she does. You know, really, she's the kind of horse that if you believe in her or you believe in that run 3 starts back, then all of a sudden, hey, look, more power to you. You're probably going to get a very square price on a horse that has an 88 Beyer. The problem I have is that's just such an outlier out of her entire body of work. I don't really believe that's what she is. I think she's that low, maybe mid-70 range kind of horse, and I just don't think that's good enough.
Wicked Storm, the number 2, skipped the Del Mar meet. Her most recent race was a score over this course and distance back on Bastille Day. She won by 4 lengths. The 3rd place finisher came back to run 2nd in an entry-level race with an 83 Beyer speed figure. She has some speed. Maybe Bejarano tries to push the number 4 horse Best of Me early.
You know, I think Wicked Storm is okay and just okay. I don't know that she's good enough to be a legitimate threat to win in here, but she has that tactical speed. She has a victory at Los Alamitos already under her belt. She likes the distance. I think there's a scenario where she can round out some exactas or trifectas.
Let's take a look at our top pick for the $75,000 Beverly J. Lewis Stakes. We're going to try to beat Rhea. We'll try to do it with Gas Station Sushi. I kind of like her as sort of a middle, 6.5, 7 furlong late running sprinter. I think this long stretch at Los Alamitos could play really well into her hands.
And you have to keep in mind, I know we're at that time of year where everybody's focused on the Breeders' Cup. These are 3-year-old fillies, and there is still a pretty big prize on opening day for the winter meeting out at Santa Anita in the La Brea at 7/8 of a mile. So maybe these girls aren't going to be prepping for races like the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, but if they run well here, perhaps you get a race between now and then. But I'd imagine most of these connections have an eye on the La Brea opening day out at Santa Anita.
Give me numbers.
5-1-7-6.
I'm going to try to beat Rhea in here. I want to see one from her off of the layoff. I'm going to go with the 5, Gas Station Sushi. I also want to use the 7, Steph Being Steph. And the $75,000 Beverly J. Lewis Stakes, your co-feature at Los Alamitos on Saturday. Bet it with a DRF Bets account. You won't be sorry. 300% deposit match, bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for the Beverly J. Lewis, 4:28 Pacific. Good luck.